Hey boys and girls, here we go starting judicial branch in great detail. You're going to glue your notes when you're done on page 26. That's 26 of your notebooks, and that'll be a great place to start. Most of us have played sports or video games before, and one of the things that we know that either of those have is a set of rules or codes. When those codes or rules are broken, we know that there's a penalty, 15-yard penalty perhaps in a football game, maybe a turnover in basketball, or in the gaming world, maybe loss of life, have to start the level over. In any case, the US government needs to have rules just the same way, and they need officials. These officials serve the purpose of the judicial branch in our federal government, and it is those functions, those rulings, that fulfill their responsibility in the third branch of our government system. We also should remember that in interpreting the laws, the actual job of the judicial branch itself is guided by the idea of equal justice for all. We can see that right here, which is our first point. This idea, equal justice for all, is essential to our nation. It protects our rights and the rights of all Americans. So here we go. Equal justice under the law. We know that in interpreting the laws, the judicial branch is guided by the ideal of equal justice for all. So those are your two fill-ins there. Part B, in the Supreme Court building itself is carved a really important message called equal justice under the law. What does this mean? This means that all citizens, and I would highlight this, are considered equal and guaranteed equal protection by law. We will be coming back to this phrase, equal protection by law, later on. Laws for the good of all, point C. Americans enjoy freedom because of the laws that protect our rights, and some of the laws actually limit our freedom. For example, we're not allowed to rob people. This is to protect, write that in, protect our personal property. It is to protect our rights to own property too. You know, one of the things John Locke said, the right to life, liberty, and property. So all this is coming back yet again. Moving on to the next slide. Point number 2 here says that laws represent the majority of rule, the majority rule. A law is usually passed when most people believe something should or shouldn't be done. Later, if the people change their minds, they can, or their position, they can change the law. For example, we've seen recently, marijuana seen very bad 10, 20 years ago. Now more states are getting okay with not only its medical use, but its recreational use. If we go back 150 years or so ago, we know that slavery was still seen as kind of okay, but we were changing as a culture, being more progressive, saying that, hey, this is really a bad idea, and that maybe it's going to be better off for all of us if it is gone. Third point, it is important to learn and obey the nation's laws because it shows good citizenship. Again, going back to quarter one's lesson. Second major point is there are many kinds of law under the judicial branch. There's going to be 4 types. Make sure you know all 4 types here. I guess I'll just go right here with that. 4 kinds of law. All must follow the Constitution. The Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. All right? Kind of law number 1, statutory law. These are laws that are passed by Congress, states, and local governments. One really good example of a statutory law is something you can see just outside of our classroom. It's called a fire exit sign. These kinds of things help keep people safe, and they is a great example of a state law that keeps people safe. Common laws, kind of law number 2. These are laws that follow common sense and common practice. An example is a car speed limit sign, which we see here. The speed limit, believe it or not, is 80 miles an hour on the highways in South Dakota. In Minnesota, it's about 70 miles an hour. And in places like Wisconsin here, we see very commonly 65 or 70 as well. So that is an example of common law, and that should make very good sense. For example, when horses and buggies and cars shared the same road, and the car ran into the horse buggy because he was going too fast, the horse buggy driver obviously his property was ruined, but the car driver might say, hey, I wasn't breaking the law because I was going too fast. There was no speed limit sign. So having a speed limit sign, the judge would say, obviously you're driving out of control and you're breaking the law. Common sense stuff. Administrative law. These are laws made by government agencies. For example, consumer protection laws such as unsafe toys. An unsafe toy is immediately recalled and pulled off the shelf right away. Can't think of any of those right now at the moment, but there have definitely been those. Constitution law is type of law number 4, and this is, I keep doing that. This is law that's based on the Constitution and Supreme Court decisions. Supreme Court decisions, remember, interpret the law, and they can kind of change laws that were once put into practice. All right, now that I got your attention with my nifty glow hat, go Pack Go, we'll get into our final point, which is the role of the courts in the judicial branch. The courts in the judicial branch have a big role, as you can imagine. They use all kinds of law, the 4 types, statutory, common, administrative, and constitutional law, to settle disputes. That's because they need to be just, right? To be just, laws need to be enforced fairly, okay? To guarantee justice, U.S. law assumes that a person is innocent until proven guilty, okay? This keeps things fair. We know people are wrongly accused in our justice system today, so this is a huge point. Innocent until proven guilty. The proper way to determine guilt is through the courts itself, and the courts do this by holding a trial, right? The courts do this by holding a trial. So the conclusion here is that the courts are vital. They're vital. They make up people. They're made up of people who have the authority to administer justice, and only with the courts do we Americans believe we can have equal justice for all. All right, good job. Now it's your turn to come up to Mr. Rush and get a sheet from me, and I will assign you a partner. You are going to now read and complete questions on a topic called the cases for Supreme Court. And the cases deal with which cases the Supreme Court can actually hear. The Constitution determines which cases they can hear, just like the Supreme Court determines what's right and wrong. All right, good luck. Come and see me, and you're going to get, once again, the cases for Supreme Court sheet.